Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tex Messages, the Resurrection. If you happen to be a newer viewer, whether you're a living, breathing entity or in a form of artificial intelligence, we're actually called Tex Messages, the Resurrection because originally we had a show titled Tex Messages, but it wasn't really a big hit because it was too long, it was plotty, it was slow, it was not really informative, it wasn't very entertaining, and people tuned out pretty quick. So we had to step back a little bit for roughly about 3 months, get our bearings re-greased and lubed up and sealed up and everything, and put it back on our high-performance automobile, and then we hit the ground running. And hence we've been running strong for maybe about 2 months now. So the original text messages, its nascent stages began probably around last year. Around this time is when the initial preparation of the studio commenced. Now the first show actually aired maybe early March, and it was probably recorded around that same time period too. Generally we just recorded and then get it on the air as quick as possible. There really wasn't much editing we needed to do. I mean, back then we used Windows Movie Maker, which was just a linear editor. You put all the videos and clips onto a little apparatus, and then you can shorten them up, cut them, add music to them, turn the music up and down, turn the sound up and down, and fade it in and out and everything. So that was a very simple editor. Now we've utilized VSDC. It's a free editor. It's non-linear, so you basically got these blocks that are up and down, so you can mix and match, put multiple pictures into one frame, multiple sounds into one frame. It's very user-friendly, and it helps to bring out the green screen and use the advantages of that particular device too. Because we had the green screen, we basically had that right away. Went ahead and went to Menards, had some paint mixed up to get the lime green complexion, what's called chroma key. But of course we didn't have the horsepower to actually utilize it for the longest time. I mean, yeah, it looks good, it's cute, funny, and fresh and everything, but it's always good to, if you have the tools, to have the know-how and the other tools to use them. Like for example, if you got a car, yeah, it's great and everything, it looks good in your driveway, in your garage, but if you don't have the gas to use it, it doesn't really serve much of a function. You know, unless you got one of those Volkswagen Bugs where you just cut off half of it and then stick it in your yard and then grow flowers out of it, then that's pretty cool logo, that's pretty cool design. But for the most part, if you got the right tools for the job, you generally need to have the right supporting tools for the job as well. And same with this show. I mean, we have the right supporting cast, the right producers and everything for the most part. So that's why we tend to run a fairly streamlined ship here. Now yeah, sometimes we get off the rails and everything too, but by and large, the train is probably not going to slow down anytime soon. We just need to continue pressing and moving forward and just moving ahead, ladies and gentlemen. Because ultimately life is just about as close to a war as you can possibly get, and nearly every day is a battle. Of course, enemy recognition is always important in that regard too. So that's one of the things that we strive on succeeding here, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the biggest enemies is enemies to your health, and you know, your animal's health, your family's health, community's health, everything like that. So that's usually the pinpoint topic we try to tackle here. We might start to begin some other shows in the future. I mean, propaganda extravaganza might be one of them. News views. Lutheran nonfiction might be another one as well. It's a spin-off of. There used to be a public access channel in the early 2000s. It was the top rated one in central Minnesota, and it was consistently probably on par with national news networks based on their ratings in the local area. I mean, yeah, obviously on a national level, if you count every single person that watched the national news channel, yeah, it's more than what the public access channel was pumping out, or was the viewers that the public access channel was attaining in just their limited geography. But if you were to take that limited geography and figure out everybody that was watching in just that area, it would probably be more than what was actually watching the national news network because the show was just that good. And I was fortunate enough to know that the cameraman for that show as well. So I mean, if we could just steal the name of that show and use it instead, that might be something we do. Because usually the most successful ideas on here are stolen ones. I mean, yeah, we might add a tweak here and there, but by and large, it's probably 80% of its original derivative. But that seems to be what works, and that's the formula for success and what's entertaining and makes you, the audience at home, happier, which is generally the goal of any talk show or just any form of entertainment in general. that you're being entertained and that you're satisfied and happy, and that you don't feel like you're wasting your time. Because if we're not doing everything we can to make the show great again, it's disrespectful for you, the audience at home. And it's a slap in the face, and it's basically a form of thievery. We'd be stealing your time, more or less. It's like if you buy a product from the store with your hard-earned money, and you find out that it's a subpar product, and the people manufacturing didn't give a crap if it malfunctioned after a year and broke down and maybe started a fire in your house or something. Then you'd be very disappointed to spend the hard-earned money and time to get the item and then to use it and find out that it was just a lemon or garbage, garbage in a form of a presentable, sellable item. And that's sort of the same with our food supply too. You hope that there's good quality food that you're eating and it's not riddled with 49 different types of pesticides in the case of some fruits and vegetables that appear very healthy on the store shelves, but once you look into them, then you can see the devil is indeed in the details. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I have a handful of news articles here. We thought about doing another show yesterday, sort of a double header, but it does get to be a bit of oversaturation to just do too many shows like that. But I mean, ultimately, you just got to keep moving forward and moving ahead, and it is a bit of a defeatist mentality to think if you have the energy, the time, and the know-how to continue pressing forward, it's why not just go ahead and do it then? I mean, the worst thing that can happen is, the show goes off the rails, which happens quite frequently, so it's really not a big deviation from the normal. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, there's definitely an ample supply of news articles to choose from here. Now that I've discovered Healthline.com, NaturalHealth365.com, Natural News, Medical Daily used to be okay, but it's sort of fallen off the wagon a little. Green Med Info that was alright too, but apparently the founder or something got banned from Twitter and Facebook, so not really sure what's going to happen with that. That's usually no reason to slow down though. I mean, if we ever get banned from YouTube or Twitter, we're not even on Twitter, not even on Facebook either. Basically just YouTube and Brighteon. I mean, if we get banned off of YouTube, it'll probably just be Brighteon. If we get banned off Brighteon, then maybe we'll just go back to the public access channel and record on VHS or something like that. Or maybe just record on a cassette tape and leave them randomly strewn about on the streets. But the fact is, any obstacles that are put up in front of you, you definitely need to find a way to massacre them and overcome them, because that's ultimately what this existence is all about. Not to seek lesser challenge, but to seek the strength to attain greater challenges, or the accomplishments of greater challenges. Challenge, success, reward. It's a very simple process. So one of the articles from Healthline.com, exercise is best remedy for back pain. Movements help nourish discs, ligaments, joints, and muscles in the spine. See, a while back, when I was about 120 pounds, I looked like I rolled out of a coffin and had 14 bottles of scotch poured on me. But the fact is, I went to a chiropractor it was roughly about a year. You get on this year-long program, you pay a bunch of money and everything. Probably ended up being about $4,000. Total waste of money. For other people, it may be prudent to go to a chiropractor, but in my circumstances, it wasn't. And I went to a few different ones. One of them that I went to, he's a little confounded, and he's basically saying that he believed it was a stability issue with my spine. I mean, he couldn't figure out why there's pain or anything. And the reason why there's a stability issue is because there's no really muscle or any kind of fat to support the spine, because I basically just wasn't really eating that much, wasn't really doing any kind of strength or resistance training. I just became just a stick man, more or less. I mean, 120 pounds for a male is pretty small. Even for a female, it might be about right for some based on their skeletal structure. But for a male, it's definitely on the low end, and you don't really have a lot of stability. Your neck, it feels more pain. Your knees, your knees are okay because they don't have as much weight. Knees are usually the first thing, if you're overweight or obese or whatever the case may be, knees are usually the first thing where you start to feel a lot of pain, because and your feet too, because that's supporting all of your weight more or less. Whereas your back, that just supports your head, your arms, your upper torsos, and your midsection too. But strength training is very important for building up the muscle, and if you have more muscle, your body is going to, generally, muscle and fat are a pretty consistent ratio. So when you get larger, it's not so much you just get a whole bunch of more muscles. Usually the fat follows too. Now if you're taking all these weird hormone disruptors or endocrine disrupting chemicals, testosterone replacement therapy, human growth hormones. Then yeah, all bets are off. Your body is just going to create a weirdly disproportionate ratio of muscle to fat cell growth and everything like that. So then, it's a whole different ballgame. But here we mostly just focus on what would be considered natural food intake or natural chemical intake, which is usually no chemical intake. Well, I mean, yeah, you could say you could even say water is a chemical, so I guess in that regard. See, generally chemical is connotated with a negative assertion because you think of mixing chemicals, for example, in chemistry class, and usually things blow up or it starts on fire, it starts smoking everywhere, and bad things usually happen. So, with that being said, exercise, strength training is very important. And even if you're jogging, yeah, I mean, at first there's probably going to be a lot of back and joint pain if you haven't done it for a while. Well, that's why it's important to have good shoes and everything too. And walking is definitely a good starting point, interspersing walking and jogging, just so that you can there's a program out there called Couch to 5K. Basically, if you're used to sitting on your ass all the time, then you want to get outside and get exercise and be great again. Then it's usually walk 200 meters, jog 200 meters, walk 200 meters, something like that. They just interchange, transition from walking to running frequently or whatever the case may be. So yeah, when you exercise, it gets your blood flowing. You see your discs, they want to regenerate, and they need blood flow to do that. And they need neuron transmitters to work as well too. See, if you've ever done a strength training program, after about 3 months, from 0 to 3 months, your weight that you can lift just skyrockets. Or it goes, say you can squat 100 pounds, by the end of 3 months you might be able to squat double that, as long as you're keeping a consistent program. Now one of the reasons for that is because your brain is actually creating more of the neural pathways so that you're able to lift more weights because you're recruiting more muscle groups and you're efficiently transmitting the signals to and from your brain. And even as you lift for many years, you're becoming more efficient and better at that too. It's like playing the piano or something like, or keyboards, or synthesizers, or drums, or the guitar. You got to establish those motor neuron pathways. When you first pick it up, you don't really have any clue whatsoever what you're doing. But then after 3 months, you kind of pick it up and realize that it's really not that bad, and then you can start to challenge yourself and expand your horizons, and in some cases amaze yourself by what you're able to do. As long as you put in the time and effort and have a positive mindset. Those things can definitely not be underwritten, ladies and gentlemen. And that's the same with exercise too. I mean, the more you run around, just the more, your heart is going to have a lower resting heart rate, and it's going to be more efficient at transferring blood. It's going to know where to transfer the blood. All the neural pathways are going to know what to do too. It's familiarization. When you learn something too, say a computer program or software or mathematics, geography, history, the more you look into it, the more you read it, the more you just stare at the concepts, the more you think about it, the more you're familiar with it, the better you are going to be at it, the more well-versed you are. And that's the same with exercise too. Now, does that mean the brain only has a finite amount of resources, and if you spend too much time exercising, you're not going to have enough time learning other things? I mean, by and large, there is a limit because we only have 24 hours in a day. So that's why health is so critical. I mean, as long as you're giving yourself and providing yourself great health, then you can start to rely on your brain to come up with the other functionality that you desire out of this existence. So if you can find a good combination of cardiovascular health or swimming, biking, running, rock climbing, walking around outside, strength resistance training, core training, CrossFit, the medicine ball things, jumping around on a trampoline, maybe fake wrestling with your friends or something like that, or real wrestling if somebody does something stupid and somebody else flies off the handle. So all those things can be great. Playing with kids, for example, that's definitely a great exercise. So I mean, all those things can absolutely be healthy, and brain function is one of those things that's completely not really underrated, because just about anybody knows that you can exercise beyond a certain point to where it does become detrimental to your brain function, but as long as you're exercising reasonably and not getting out of control with sticking a bunch of needles in your ass, then it'll definitely be helpful for your mental function too, and mental health as well, and spiritual health too, to a little bit too. And it also allows you to better identify foods that are healthy for you. I mean, if you're spending all this time weightlifting or running around and you want to improve your numbers, but you find out that you're not eating food that's healthy for you, you're not going to be able to improve the numbers. So you're going to become frustrated that you're spending all that time and energy but then you're not seeing the results because of the food you're eating. So that'll be an extra motivating factor to eat healthier as well. And then too, you can sort of record the macro and micronutrients and then figure things out from there and hopefully make yourself great again. And one of the things that people with back pain have is the pain in the legs. See, every once in a while, all the time, so your nerves transmit through your spine. You know, the human system may work wirelessly, but we don't yet understand that. But what we currently understand in science is that your brain has neural pathways that run through all your spine and all your legs and hands and fingers and toes and all that. And a lot of people have what's called sciatica, which is nerve damage. Pain shoots into your legs. See, you're not actually getting attacked in your legs. You're not getting a spike stuck in your leg or anything like that. When you have nerve impingement in your lower spine, it's going to shoot down in your leg. So the problems actually originate in the spine, but your leg feels it. So it's sort of a signal to your body to say, hey, there might be a pain in the leg, but there might be a pain up above where the signal originally transmitted. It'd be like if you transmitted a wireless signal from a radio station, and then the people receiving the signal just get a sign of distress. The signal originated at the radio station. It did not originate where you received the signal. I mean, yeah, you could say you receive your signals in your brain too, so maybe that wasn't the best analogy. But basically, just understanding the system of communication of the spinal system, the neural pathways of the nervous system, that's important to be able to understand and recognize bad health too. And inversion tables definitely help with spinal health as well. Now they say it's just short-term health, but I mean, if you use it consistently, then the short-term health becomes the long-term health, because you just use it every single day for 15 minutes or whatever, or a couple times a day for 5 minutes here and there, then it can absolutely help you long-term. And then it also allows because you don't really have many opportunities to hang upside down. Because generally we're upright, our feet, our head are above our feet. Unless you're laying down, and then they're horizontal with each other. They're on a parallel plane or an equal plane. So that's also a great time to relax too. A lot of people with back pain, they like to lay down a lot because it's a little agitating to walk around. See, the human body does have some inherent weakness to it. Now, maybe it's the way we evolved or whatever, because humans generally have very large heads compared to the rest of their body. So if you put this big giant bowling ball on a little body, if your weight gets too slim or anything, or you get too large and your spine starts to get out of alignment, then yeah, it's going to cause some pain and issues. And the other thing too that people have some issues with is their jaw size, and why people need to get their wisdom teeth removed. Because usually a lot of people have an overbite, so when they smile, their upper teeth are in front of their bottom teeth, when ideally, if you have your teeth together, all of them should be touching. It creates a relaxing effect, because there's actually signals that run through your teeth and everything like that too. So most people in today's day and age, their issues are generally an overbite and back pain. So that's something that pretty much everybody experiences at some point in their life. Anyone over the age of 25. Yeah, under 15, probably not too many people deal with that. And as far as chiropractors go, if there's if you get in a car accident, for example, and your neck gets rearranged or your back does, then yeah, it's probably a good idea to see a chiropractor. But for chronic progressive pain, it's generally physical therapy is probably the way to go. Back in my early 20s, I won't really consider it chronic knee pain. At the time, it seemed like chronic knee pain because it festered for about a year. But then when I went ahead and I did is I went to the physical therapist. They showed me these stretches you can do. Well, they showed me an x-ray. It said, yeah, your kneecaps appear crooked. So you need to do these stretches because certain muscles are under tension. And when these muscles are under tension, it's going to pull your kneecaps around. So you got to do these stretches. So I did those stretches for probably about 5 years every morning. And the pain probably went away after maybe a year or two. Well, after I started the stretches, they probably went away for a year. So the pain might have been total, maybe, yeah. So the pain probably started 6 months later. Maybe went to the physical therapist, then they said do these stretches, and then 6 months later the pain was eradicated. So altogether it's about a year long with the knee pain. But the physical therapy definitely helped out though. And unfortunately the same could be said to relieve the chronic pain, the back pain through chiropractic care. But also, back pain is a little bit trickier too, because you definitely need to find a good inversion tables help. Then definitely strength training to build up the muscles too. Yeah, back squatting, deadlifting, power clean. It seems a little counterintuitive to add more stresses to your back to heal it, but that's how the human body works. If you want to make your muscle stronger, you need to break down the protein, and then it builds it back up stronger. Sort of like if you want to be smarter, you think really hard and you rack your brain around very complex concepts, and then your brain will eventually create more of these neural pathways because it wants to adapt to the challenges that you're applying to it. Like if you're playing a music instrument, or if you're learning mathematics, or whatever the case may be, or learning how to raise farm animals. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we've come to the conclusion of the show. Unfortunately, we've only been able to get to one news article. We might film another show later on in the day, or definitely tomorrow, but yeah, maybe double, trip, whatever the case may be. So we're just going to run it on 8 cylinders here, shove some coal into the train, and then just keep moving forward, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this morning's broadcast. It's January 6, 2019, Sunday morning. We salute you, the ladies and gentlemen at home, and make sure to raise some hell.